mean, I
Yeah.
don't like how I have to stream PS3 games on my PS5, but besides that, like, they're using that technology quite well.
Yeah.
I
Now,
mean, you
Midnight
blame
in
the
chat
PS3 for
says,
that.
Midnight in chat says Microsoft's effort to remove exclusives isn't unclear to me, but them saying that they want more games like Hi-Fi Rush than shutting down the studio behind it is very mixed messaging to me. And I think essentially one of the things in that story that is missed is that the talent and the people who were kind of behind that studio left and they formed their own studio. One of the things about, and I know a lot of people get frustrated with merger and acquisitions, is just natural for the industry itself. But the thing that I like about the merger and acquisition process is it puts capital in the hands of the people who actually make the games that we love, that make them valuable outside of the executives. It's a transfer of power. There are like issues and things like that that come up with it, but that is where I look at, yeah, these companies, these creators got paid. They still want to make great games. Now they happen to have a nice fat, paycheck based off of their shares. Then they can go and do these different things. So like with Tango, like I think it didn't become a big story, but I do remember seeing some people talk about how, yeah, the people behind it, they have actually moved on, and then so it was just then, and it was just Tango in name only in that case. And so I think that whatever the new studio ends up creating, much like we saw with Toys for Bob, but with Toys for Bob becoming like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and just back to being independent, but we're also going to work on these games for Microsoft based off the IP. I was like, well, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the long run. What do you guys think?
The shutdown with Tango was inevitable once that vacuum happened with the talent there. And Hi-Fi Rush is a critically acclaimed game, but I don't know if it actually did enough to justify them to rehire everyone for that studio. Right? That's just the business of it. They still own that IP. That doesn't mean Hi-Fi Rush is gone.
Right.
It does question, like, do we have the talent to bring a sequel to it or not? The Toys for Bob thing is interesting because there's some real exciting rumors associated with what that project is that they're working on with Microsoft. Um, but yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's kind of how I would classify
Pyro
it.
Banjo Kazooie would be
That's the one. Yeah,
kind of leading into like the last topic, but yeah, like I really hope it's a Banjo either remake or an all new game. It doesn't really matter what
the
they
Astro
do.
game, I think, was the highlight of that. And if because I was like, I'm getting Mario Odyssey vibes, which is great, but I feel like we've been in this period of time where nobody can step into that ring with Mario because of whatever reasons. And most likely it's because like Mario has set such a high bar that in order to try and enter into that arena, like you're taking a bigger risk than anything else, because people would be like, what is this game? But Astro in and of itself, I thought looked really great. But the same thought, like that's the thing that kind of welled up, is like, oh, if they're doing this, like maybe we can see the return of a Banjo Kazooie game, which I actually really enjoyed back in the N64. And it's just an IP that's just gone dormant. I think my kids would really enjoy having, that game being remade, remastered. I would hope that it would be a brand new game in the series. What do y'all think?
There was a Bloomberg report, I want to say from about 2 years ago. Maybe it was some report that said there is a Banjo project that has been greenlit. Now,
Yeah, I remember reading that.
And also Toys for Bob, I think one of their executives made the statement that he said both Banjo and Spyro are IPs that are just way too ignored right now.
Yes.
I agree. And I think Astro is so interesting because that was a VR game on the PS4 that really has now become PlayStation's mascot, if you will. And I just love how they unabashedly celebrate PlayStation in those games.
Yes.
It's so brilliant. Like there was literally a scene where they have like a rogue squadron of spaceships that are just like PS2, PS3 controllers, Move It controllers, and like a PS4 machine.
I thought that was awesome. Like just that kind of nod to the it's just something like you don't really see anymore, where it was very creative and the game just looks fun. Like it could be simple platforming, it could be, whatever, but I grew up with that. That's what I want to do. I love playing all sorts of games, but good platformers are so few and far between these days.
Yeah,
I agree.
Midnight writes, I want to love the big AAA titles, but they tend to be less impressive to me compared to the various different indies. And we're seeing this within a kind of what I would say, not a collapse or a crash of the gaming industry, but a contraction where AA games are actually, able to deliver the fun and innovation. And AAA is really, really hurting. And I think AAA is going to probably hurt, with some exception, for the short term, because the costs have gone up exponentially. and there's all those different things that are kind of related to it. And then there's the growing frustration that it's at a AAA game just seems to be so very safe because again, when you're spending $200 million, like there's things that you're like, well, we better not, innovate.
Right.
It's like we can't take that risk because it doesn't necessarily mean that ROI is gonna kick back in. And so that's what I think we're seeing right now happen within the industry overall. And it's going to be, I don't think that, like I said, I wouldn't call it a video game crash or whatnot, because I do think that the demand for wanting games and people's desire to make games, that hasn't changed. It's just, I think what we're seeing is just more of an industry correction that's been predicted for a while now.
Which is kind of going back to the showcase or the state of play, excuse me. What I don't understand, like Concord, that game looked really impressive, but that
pair it with the Marvel Overwatch as well, like
it's so for me just, when that trailer played, like the intro shows like this story cutscene, right?
Yeah.
But then it transitions to gameplay. I just, it was too jarring for me. Usually you see, like, I felt like I was watching like a PS3 early PS4 game being shown, because the cutscene was really detailed and very fluid, and then it cuts to the game and suddenly the models aren't as sharp. And you get some of that, but like that didn't feel like this big live service title that's got a lot of work behind it. It just kind of felt like, I don't know. It gave me Foam Stars vibes. Like, this looks neat, but I don't know if it'll do what they want it to do.
And that's just the industry correction. I feel like Sony's going to be way late to the game with these live service attempts. Like, there's only so much space out there for live service games to truly succeed.
What was the numbers? It's just under 70% of gamers are playing 6-year-old games.
Right.
Yeah.
That's obviously still Fortnite and Minecraft, and World of Warcraft.
Oh, Final Fantasy 14.
Final Fantasy 14. Exactly. Like all of us here, are in like guilty, like in that category. Of course, we touch other games as well, but like in terms of just pure hours spent on gaming, that these games are aging, and that there's only a finite amount of time. That's why subscription fatigue is becoming a real thing, because it's like I don't have all the time to watch all of this service and this service, and why am I paying for all of this when I don't have to?
Yep.
Right. By the way, I will clear up that Marvel Rivals is also on Xbox.
Yeah. Most of it, like when we were talking about the whole PC thing, like just an image that it goes Concord, God of War, Dynasty Warriors, Infinity Nikki, Ballad of Antaria, Skydance Behemoth, Alien Rogue Incursion, Marvel Rivals, Where Winds Meet, Until Dawn, Path of Exile 2, Silent Hill, Monster Hunter Wilds, and the only so that's 13 out of the 14 games they showed are all coming to PC, like, or Xbox in this regard. So they're like, that's why I've seen people talk about it today on Twitter, calling it the state of PC. And I'm like, oh, that's
all the showcases this year are basically going to be stay at PC, because everything on Xbox has gone on PC.
Right, exactly. That's the like I'm like, people like Xbox has exclusives. I was like, they haven't had a single exclusive since they implemented Play Anywhere. Stop trying to redefine exclusive, meaning I can only play this game on this hardware. Okay, that doesn't now exist anymore in the Microsoft ecosystem.
It's almost like, where can you not play the game, and then that's what makes it exclusive.
That's what are we excluding here? Like, that's really what the shift in the mindset. And Sony going in that direction doesn't surprise me, but they have, I think, a harder time in terms of their base, because, like, yes, when PS players who are diehard console, like console only, and I get it, PC gaming, has its downsides. Went from a cost and maintenance and, etc. Like, I get why people like consoles, but I think the era of console only, and it could just, and again, I can see us, Sony going that safe route of, well, we're not doing day and date, but we're going to have this cadence in which that, that, okay, it's going to be every 2 years when our PS5 game comes to PC, or like whatever that cadence is. And I do think that time frame will get shorter and shorter and shorter. Midnight says, state of the Steam Deck. Yes. And that's the thing. Like, when it comes to these hardwares, we've talked about it a few times here on the podcast. Like, why would, like, Microsoft not going and opening up their system to things like Steam Deck, like to Steam and etc. It seems foolish when the next Steam Deck is going to be even more powerful. It already can hook into my TV. It already supports a wide range of games. I think ultimately we're going to see that shift, and that I think gamers win in that regards.
By the way, I might be wrong about this because A, I don't own a Steam Deck, and B, I don't play on PC. But from what I've been reading from certain forums, that supposedly the PSN games games that require PSN do not work on Steam Deck because there's something to do with the PSN will not link properly with Steam Deck. So yeah, if the games that require PSN, you won't be able to actually play it.
I think that's just also
On
going to be a
Steam
little
Deck.
bit of a function of time, because when it comes to Steam Deck, being that it runs Linux, there ends up being something that the people have to go and end up doing, and so Steam Deck isn't a perfect platform, but it's a great platform, especially if you got the money for it.
Yeah, once Proton gets a couple more months of updates, I could see that working out and resolving itself. But I had issues even with Final Fantasy 14 on my Steam Deck back in the day because you have to do that separate launcher.
I still get all kinds of views on my how to set it up Final Fantasy 14 for Steam Deck video, because it's just,
that might be where I found you. I don't like that 2 years ago or so.